Welcome, listeners, to My Fantasy Wife, the weekly sports meets comedy meets marriage podcast, where a husband and wife discuss sports, fantasy leagues, and their impact on pop culture and relationships, including their own. I'm the wife, comedian Blair Postman.
Hey.
Hey! I'm joined by my husband and sports stat expert, Gary Hames.
Yes, you are.
Woohoo! Unfortunately, we have no substitute or regular social media maven today. And rounding things out, sound engineer, comedian, a man about town, Mr. Louis Bishop.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm just wonderful, thank you.
So, in other words, we have the A-team today.
Yeah, we got the A-team.
Right.
I'm face. To never miss,
Not that A-team.
to never miss our weekly episodes, extras, and more. Subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at My Fantasy Wife Podcast, Twitter at MyFantWife, and support the podcast with cool sponsor perks at Patreon.com/MyFantasyWife. Miss any of that? Go to our website, MyFantasyWife.com, with links to everything. Gary,
Yes.
tell us about this week's sponsor.
All right. This week's sponsors. Podhive. Podhive matches small to medium-sized podcasts and matches with paying advertisers in the areas where those podcasts have their strongest fan bases. Now signing up new podcasts. Go to podhive.com for more information. That's Podhive. It's free.
Your face is a little red.
That's effort.
It seems to be a bit of spit on the microphone.
That took a little effort. Woo.
You might need to wash Mr. Bishop's
did.
microphone down, and that's not a sassy saying. I mean, literally wash his microphone down.
Fine. What's the problem?
Oh, nothing. It was just a lot of enthusiasm about that and that sponsor method.
I'm like Tom Cruise. I do my own stunts.
Does Tom Cruise? Oh, I guess he does. That was a stunt?
Yes.
It seemed like it took a lot of effort. I'm sure our sponsor will appreciate.
Did you hear the 50 caliber machine gun in the middle of it?
There was a lot going on.
Yeah. Twin 50s.
Okay. All right. I'll probably go back and listen to it a few times just so I can get all the nuances there.
Sorry.
Mr. Bishop.
Hey.
Hey, good to see you. Glad you showed up today.
Yeah, I'm batting 1,000.
Yeah, you are.
He lives here.
I know, but he's literally.
Although I thought y'all were locked out when I came up.
Yeah, I know. I thought so too. But he's literally been on every episode. I believe. Did I miss an episode? I'm not sure if I ever missed an episode. But yeah, you've literally been on every episode.
Yeah.
Because we cannot have one without you.
Right.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, and also literally can't do it. You have all the equipment.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So, guys, a little fun news. Today we're having, for episode 91, comedian and podcaster Brian Miller. Yay!
So is Lewis Mr. T?
I think Lewis is Mr. T.
And who am I? I'm the guy with the cigar?
I think you're the older gentleman.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah.
Hannibal.
Hannibal. You can be Hannibal, and I'm Face. That's the only one I remembered besides Mr.
There's
T.
another one. There's that thin...
The crazy guy.
Mechanic type.
Yeah, the crazy guy, doing stuff.
I want to call him Murdoch.
Yes,
Oh, yes,
that's
yes.
his name.
Was Face
good.
good? Was Face good? My brothers watched it. I didn't really
Yeah,
watch
Face
it.
was he was a good looking
He was like
one.
the con
Yeah.
man, attractive con man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's like you.
I could be.
Attractive con
That's
man.
sort of. Yeah, kind of. I'm taking that as a compliment.
Okay.
But anyway, Brian Miller is going to be joining us today. Woohoo! He could be Murdoch today. See,
right.
Drew Harrison missed out. He could have been Murdoch. That would have been good for him.
Yeah.
He's too... well, Murdoch was an extremely thin man.
Well, I mean, but, from a sensibility standpoint. He used to be a mechanic and stuff. Yeah. Anyway.
He's a cat mechanic.
Oh, my God. Please let me get through this announcement. So episode 91, Brian Miller. Next week, episode 6, we've now confirmed Aparna's going to be joining us. November 13th, episode 93, we're going to have Brady Novak from Community. And we're going to have a lot more surprises and fun guests taking us through our 100th episode, which is going to be the first week in January.
Featuring Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Gary, it's supposed to be a surprise.
Okay.
Now I'm going to cancel him and get someone else.
Oh, well, it's my fault.
Because I want it
It's
to
my
be a
fault.
surprise.
I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I forgive you. Yeah, that's about it. All right. Before we get into fact checking, any urgent new business to attend to? I don't think so. Not that I know of.
No, I wouldn't call it urgent.
No, I mean, we're missing Wills because he was supposed to fill in, and then something came up.
Well,
for
Wills
him, and
isn't
Drew...
here.
Right. No, stop it. I miss Wills intensely.
Mills, you mean?
Mills Waxwell?
Yeah.
Anthropologist? Yes. All right.
He has to wear fine, polished wire rim glasses when we call him that.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure he doesn't already. But he's a local television personality now, so he's got a lot going on.
Blair was like, she was giving him the benefit of the doubt. She was like, it's okay for Wills to miss it.
I'm sure something did come up.
Where I work, you would get 3 points for that.
But we don't pay him. But he's very reliable. He's very responsible, and so I'm sure whatever it is, it's a real thing. So yeah, I do give him the benefit of the doubt.
I'm just saying, last night was the Halloween night party night,
right?
For the most part, right?
Yeah.
And we do know that he has tasted sin.
Right.
So
I don't think so. Don't take this bait, Gary. Don't you do it. He's trying to get us to talk. No, I'm sure Mr. Wills Maxwell has an excellent reason why he can't be here. Okay. Drew, on the other hand, who's really supposed to be here, I have no belief in any way, shape, or form that it's for a legitimate reason. But he did give us a lot of notice, so there you go. I think he's just pre-gaming Halloween.
I have not checked mugshots.com for either of them.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
I think it's best not to know.
No,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plausible deniability.
You don't want to go down that road.
Right. You don't want to start checking me. I don't want people checking me out either. All right, guys. Well, you want to get into a little fact-checking?
Sure.
All right. Guys, this is the fact-check portion. This is the part of the podcast where we correct the mistakes we made last week to make room, Gary, for the mistakes we are going to almost surely make this week.
Maybe we should get some storage and we could just hang on to both of them.
No, I feel like it's better to clear the decks. Clear the decks every week. It's like making amends. This is like the sooner you do it, just keep things clear. Okay, and we had a lot of, we had a disturbing amount of Welcome Back Kotter related fact-checking to do.
Right.
But this is going to be difficult for me not to sing. We'll come back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to the same old place that you laughed about. Okay.
Trivia, who was that?
Sebastian. Somebody Sebastian.
John Sebastian.
John Sebastian.
A little bit of trivia. The first time I ever heard American Top 40...
Yeah.
I turned it on and listened to it for the first time. I'm like, oh, this is a good idea. And the number one song that week was this song.
Right.
First time I ever listened.
Really?
We got Mom Spot. Welcome back.
This is
welcome
Casey
back.
Kasem.
Welcome.
Right.
Oh, remember that Casey Kasem screaming at the people? Oh, that was crazy. That was like a year ago. Maybe that's what we should do for the 100th episode.
Who writes this?
Yeah, it was ugly.
I'm supposed to talk about a dead dog and then play a disco song?
That's right.
Who writes this?
You have a good memory for that stuff, Gary. All right, so anyway, fact-checking. Welcome back,
Can't come out of
Kotter.
this sad shit in an upbeat song.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, okay. Welcome back, Kotter. First of all, the principal's name was Mr. Woodman.
Yes.
Mr. Woodman.
Yes.
And Washington, his full name and nickname, Freddie Boom Boom Washington.
Right. How do
Freddie
we forget
Boom
that?
Boom. I don't know, because that's like one of the best ones. Yeah, Freddie Boom Boom Washington. And then even more importantly...
Mr. Cotter.
Yeah, Mr. Cotter. Even a little more distressing, Mr. Bishop had told us that Gabe Kaplan had a distressing amount of facial plastic surgery, which may or may not have been related to his gambling poker habit.
I didn't know that it was him. Like someone when they told me, I was like, "That's the dude from Welcome Back, Kotter." I was like, "Which one?"
Yeah, and if you look at our...
Which one was in a motorcycle accident?
Yeah, if you look at our Facebook page... Now, in fairness, John Travolta has also had a little bit of plastic surgery done, but Gabe Kaplan...
He's still a human, though.
Yeah, and he evolved...
He still possesses human DNA.
Yeah, he evolved in front of our eyes, so it's a little... Until you see pictures right next to each other, it's not as obvious. But I hadn't seen a picture of new Gabe Kaplan in the last 10 years.
Who's Brad Pitt? Does he fit into this in any way?
He's just a very attractive man that has nothing to do with this in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, so Gabe Kaplan, if you go to our Facebook page, you can see he's had quite a lot of work done.
Well, it's all that money he won playing poker. He used it for plastic surgery.
I don't know if he was any good at the poker or not. I mean, you would hope so.
Is that what I thought Lois told us he was?
He said he played poker. I don't know if he was good at it.
Right.
We can't play for very long if you're not good.
All right.
Although he probably has a lot of royalties still coming in.
Really, when's the last time you saw Welcome Back Kotter somewhere in reruns?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Did watch about 20 hours of Supernatural last week.
Well, yeah, no, it didn't come up.
Is he in that?
No.
I don't know. He's had a lot of plastic surgery. He's got a hard time.
He could be one of the
There
monsters.
was a lizard monster in it. Was that him? No.
Maybe.
All
Maybe
right.
he's just a huge cocaine lord from Colombia.
Okay. All right. Next fact check. Because we got to move on. We got a lot to do, and we got Brian, and we're shorthanded, as we know,
If
because
we
Drew
took
and Will's
the time
both-
out that you used to say that we're running out of time, we'd have like 7
I
extra
know,
minutes every show.
but if I didn't say we're running out of time, we would keep going down the thing where we were running out of time. So
how do we know that?
Between a rock
You've
and a hard
never
place.
tried.
All right, guys. Hot racking, a.k.a. hot bunking, a.k.a. hot betting.
Also known as Gary didn't lie about this.
All the same thing. It is the sanctioned practice within military organizations of assigning more than one crew member to a bed or rack to reduce berthing/sleeping space. The practice dates back to at least the 16th century, and today is particularly applied aboard submarines where maximization of space is especially important. Generally, the lowest ranking members of the crew are required to hot rack. Hot racking is sometimes utilized in jails and prisons to deal with overcrowding. That seems like a terrible idea, by
I
the
have
way.
a question. I don't remember how that come up. How did that come up?
It was we had gone down one of those rabbit holes. I don't have a good answer for you. There's no logical
What are we
way.
going to do with the guests? Is that what it was?
I don't recall. I listened to
could
it.
you
but-
fact check it for us?
Okay, now I'm going to have to fact check the fact check. Son of a bitch.
right.
I walked right into that. God damn it.
I've smiled on the inside.
I love it when we fact check something and it's like 4 episodes into fact checking it.
Right.
Because that happens. Because we're a professional group of folks. Okay, guys. All right. There's only 3 of us today, but we got a lot to cover. Are you ready? Let's talk about some hot topics.
Okay.
Hot topics. Hey, you know what?
What?
Baseball's happening. Is it, Gary?
Is it?
Gary, is there anything interesting going on in baseball yet?
I thought there was going to be something interesting, but now.
Well, wait a second. Now, as of Sunday, the 30th of October, the Cubs lost both their games at home.
Well, they have one more.
Oh, they have one more. That's right. And
Tonight.
so,
They'll lose all 3.
well, I'm not predicting that.
Do you think they're still getting $300 cover charges at the bars
Yeah,
outside of?
I
Do
do.
you?
Yeah, I do.
Even down 3-1?
Yeah, because if they're gonna go down, they want to go down with the ship and they want to be with their peers
They were charging $300 cover charges?
at the bars around Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
Wow.
The tickets to the game were $10,000.
Right, yeah. I heard like it was like something insane like that.
Yeah, all the good bars, like within a block or two, they were charging these ludicrous like admission fees. Because otherwise, everybody would be there.
Right.
Right? Yeah. And then you wouldn't be special. Or
Right,
you
yeah,
could
you don't
just-
want everyone at that
You don't
bar.
want to just hang out with
I mean,
your
it sounds like a lot
friends.
of money, but if your bar is still full, you're probably not charging enough.
Well, fair enough. Yeah.
You want to get to that point where you got like one empty seat.
That's Gary professing the basics of the invisible hand of capitalism there. Yeah.
The invisible Mr. Hand of capitalism.
Invisible Mr. Hand. If you have supply, Mr. Hand, and I have demand, isn't it
Isn't it our supply
time,
side economics?
Mr. Hand? There's a lot going on in that.
Right.
Gary and I were both in on the joke.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Sure was.
Mr. Hand meets the invisible hand of capitalism. So, wow, there's a lot there. There's a lot there, folks. But
I
seriously,
thought you guys were doing like a Schoolhouse Rock.
Did you bring enough income for everybody?
okay. So, do you really think that the Cubs are just going to fold here and this is going to be the end tonight?
No.
Okay.
No, I think they're going to win.
Oh,
You
come
think-
on, Gary.
No, I think the Cubs are going to win.
You're a fan,
You think
right?
they're going to win the whole thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Like,
Wow.
give me a scenario. Why do you think that? Because you're also a rational, stats-based person. What you know a lot about baseball. What makes you think that a comeback tonight that they're going to go on then and win 2? Right? They'd have to win 2 in Cleveland. They've already won 1 in Cleveland. So.
I think it's. If you had asked me before it started, you didn't ask me this question. I didn't think of it, but if you'd asked me how I thought this would go, I would have said I think they're going to get down 3-1 and then win the last 3 to come back.
Really?
For several reasons. One, because that's what the basketball team did. It just seems like fate.
So that, like, the Cleveland will have done to them what they did to somebody else in a
Yes.
different sport.
Yes.
Okay.
That's one thing, and then it's just it would suck. Well, the other possibility is they win 2 and then go to Game 7 and then lose, which would really just be one more. Like, this is almost too easy for the Cubs' 106-year tradition of misery, that they just get blown away. Like, I kind of want them to, like, get back to the brink and then just get their heart ripped out and thrown over the edge.
Wow, why?
Well,
you're a Cubs fan.
Well, no, I want them to win eventually, but, like, if they're going to lose, I want them to lose horribly and miserably just to keep the whole thing going, All
right. What do you think's going to happen?
But I think they're going to win. They have better pitching. They have better starting pitching. If they can get the lead, with their bats have not been hitting, but they have a much better hitting team. If they can get the lead, the problem with if Cleveland gets up by a run or two in the 5th, 6th inning, their bullpen is magnificent. I heard a stat on ESPN today that their setup man Miller and their closer, whose name escapes me, during the season in games when both those guys pitched with a lead, they were 23-0.
Okay,
which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's undefeated.
Name escapes me. He's really good.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
I've been following him since college.
After Who's He What's It?
Right.
Yeah, that's the 1-2 punch.
Right.
The 1-2 punch of the pitching.
No,
Oh, I'm gonna get it later. What is it? What are you thinking about it, Mr. Bishop?
No, I agree with what Gary's saying. That would make it more interesting. That at least they waited 108 years to lose in this horrible,
like in spectacular fashion.
Right. But I don't know. I just don't think they're going to be able to. I felt that maybe the whole thing was going to be just a sweep. That Cleveland was just going to come in and just blow them out, 4-0. But the Cubs won 1, so
Cleveland has their own tradition of misery.
Yes, they do. Right, and in any other World Series, they would be the underdogs.
I just keep remembering the Red Sox in '76, which is the first baseball series I can really remember really clearly, where they were going to break the curse of the Bambino, and then Carlton Fisk hits that home run in the 11th inning that he waves fair.
So you're
and they go on to win.
That's how you want the Cubs to lose? Okay. Well,
if in fact they're going to lose, I would like to see them. And see, the thing is, really, Cleveland, the guy that pitched Game 1 and 4, is available again for Game 7, which would set up nicely if the Cubs win the next 2 and they have all the momentum, and then they just get blown away by Corey Kluber again.
Wow.
Don't you feel that the Indians aren't getting any credit, or no one even is talking about them winning? They're just talking about the Cubs losing.
Yes, absolutely.
It's like they're there every year or whatever, which they're not.
No. Right. Hey, gang, we're losers too.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, it's been a long time since we've been here too.
And we've been in Cleveland the whole time. You guys have gotten to be in Chicago.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the second most unsuccessful team in the history of professional sports on Earth.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I don't hear any press conferences on ESPN radio or anything like that. They're always talking to what's the guy's name, Joe Madden, about how the Cubs lost. They're not talking to the other manager about how the Indians won.
Well, part of that, I did hear an interview with Terry Francona the other day, and part of it is he is the politest, gentlest, nicest man on earth. So there's never anything said that you can quote or put on TV, and it's get a reaction or anything. But Joe Madden, also smartest man on the planet, so it's no mistake that they want to interview him.
How's he the smartest man on the planet?
Because he says so.
He says so?
Okay. All right, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to inform some other people who think they're the smartest person.
No, it's Joe Madden.
Okay, interesting. Are we done with baseball, or is there something you'd like to wrap with the baseball part of things? The baseball.
No, it's I don't know. This was not my baseball year. I just
Do you
never
think
felt
that
it.
if the Cubs lose, that they'll have a chance of maybe? I mean, I know it's, but going back, didn't the Royals do that 2 years ago?
Well,
they lost the World Series the 1 year, and then they come back the next year. Or was it a 2-year spread or a 3-year spread? There's
no salary cap in baseball, and Chicago has as much money as anybody from the size of the city and the stadium and the passion of the advertising. They've just got a lot of money. And they have they've got a great young team. Yeah, they could go back for 10 years. What they actually remind me of is the Braves that I followed all through the 90s, where they were built. They had a good hitter at every position and 4 good starting pitchers, and there's just nobody could beat them for the season. But then they get to the playoffs, and they run into 1 or 2 super hot pitchers that they couldn't beat, and they wouldn't win the World Series. Short, 6-7 games, they could 162 game season. They were the best team every year, but they could never win the World Series. And this kind of reminds me of that. They have better players than Cleveland at every position, except Cleveland has a couple of starting pitchers and a setup man that are way better than anybody the Cubs have. And that's enough to win you one series.
Well, that's what Gary thinks about that. All right, guys. Can we have a change of topic music? All right, Gary. Is there anything that is there anything we should care about right now about college football?
Absolutely not.
Okay, change of.
No.
Okay,
Just a little bit. This is a big weekend for the college football.
Why is that?
A lot of matchups between top 20 teams.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Any of them in particular?
I'm a Clemson fan. So they
you went
won.
to school near there, not
Well, yeah.
Clemson.
Did they win last night?
Yeah, they did win. They came back. It required a very late touchdown pass to do it, but they did win. They were playing Florida State, who in the beginning of the season was ranked in the top 10, and they were supposed to be battling out for the ACC, and I think they're 12th or something now. But Clemson beat them, and I don't see anybody else on that schedule that can beat them. So hopefully they're going to be in the big deal. Alabama's certainly going to be in it.
All right. Change the topic music, please. Very economical.
Yeah, ESPN
All right.
not hiring us on the basis of that analysis.
No. Well, hey, I was just kind of throwing it out there. Like, hey, here's something I often forget to look at.
Yeah.
And I'm too lazy to research it myself.
Right.
So I'll just ask Gary.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
all right. I think we need.
I unfortunately had to work, and I didn't have to work. I had to work a little bit, and missed most of the games yesterday.
Well, okay. I need a palate cleansing change music again. I'm so sorry. All right, thank you. Hey, the NBA is back. It seems almost impossible. And the reason I noticed was because they were talking about how it's the same night as the first game of the World Series.
Yeah.
It was the night that across the street, basically, the Cleveland Cavaliers were getting their championship rings.
And beating the Knicks.
People going back and forth. And the Cavs went into the second game of the World Series at the stadium in Cleveland after their game and went to watch, and it was a big deal. And so that's kind of cool. But so I want to get to doing all of the predictions that you might have and so forth, and that Lewis might have. But because I've noticed so early that basketball, I probably wouldn't have noticed yet that basketball was already happening.
Right.
But because I have, we could actually do a basketball fantasy league. There's still time.
Yeah, let's do it. We didn't do that last year.
No, what about you, Mr. Bishop? You think basketball fantasy league? What is
He's
it?
willing to auto draft a team that has nothing to do with him and then never look at it again. Sure.
Yeah, I'm willing to do that. I'll step up to the plate or whatever you do.
I
with
appreciate
basketball.
that.
No, that's baseball. That's baseball.
Whatever.
We didn't do that. He'll free throw it from the line into the basket.
Yeah.
How's that? So would you do it?
I'll shoot it from half court.
You want
I'll
to?
set it up
Yeah,
tonight.
he'll shoot what he said when the court line.
Yeah, I'll set it up tonight.
Every once in a while, I have to point this out. I don't know about sports, not because I am a woman, but because I don't care about sports. If I were male, I'd be like Troy. I'd be like the Dungeons and Dragons
if
kid.
You were, I disagree.
So,
if you were a male, you'd care about sports.
No, so
if Troy were a male, he would care about sports.
Oh my goodness,
I have to agree with Gary.
that's wrong.
See, Lewis agrees.
I object to that comment. Okay, but so NBA first. What are our takeaways? What's going to happen?
Well, you missed the big event that happened. The opening game was that San Antonio blew Golden State out of the water by like 30 points.
Yeah, I saw
And that was big down to the wire in the playoffs last year.
Well,
Or was it the year
they
before?
won their first 24 games last year, and now they've added the best player in the league, or second best player in the league.
Oh, that's right. The guy from
We're not
Oklahoma
expecting to
City.
lose the home opener
Durantula, right?
by 30, yeah.
Oh, I forgot. They lost by 30?
Yeah.
They must be upset.
Well, it's a long season, but I mean, that was not the way that was supposed to go.
Had you heard about this, Mr. Bishop?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
And so they have a very, very, very expensive team roster.
Well, there's a salary cap, though, so it's not so out of whack.
But they have all these, like, the greatest. How do they lose by 30?
Yeah, I didn't see the game. I was expecting them to win, and I didn't pay any attention. I just woke up the next day, and I was like, wow.
I don't know. Like
crop dusted.
whenever they got, what did you call
Durantula?
Durantula. I like that.
Yeah. That's why I like him, too, because of the nickname. Durant.
Whenever I thought it was a bad move whenever they got him. Because, I mean...
Screw with the chemistry. They had great chemistry.
That's the thing.
I was worried about that.
That's the thing, is that, it's... I think that basketball is the closest to football where, like, you have a good team. I mean, you do have superstars, and, of course, there's teams where you can have, like, a superstar just... He doesn't really need anyone else. But, I mean, that's years and years... Whenever LeBron was in Cleveland the first time, he was basically the only superstar.
Yeah.
And
well, they also didn't win then.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, so... They couldn't win because he was the only superstar.
Right.
And, they were okay, but I don't know. I just
They
felt
didn't
like...
have the team chemistry.
Right.
Well, Golden's, that's the thing. They had the best chemistry, the best makeup of any team I've ever seen. So screwing with that is risky.
Well,
They don't need any more talent. They had way enough talent to win already. I don't know if I like that move.
what were
Of course, on the other hand, you say you can get Kevin Durant as a free agent for nothing. Who wouldn't take him?
Right.
So
what's your recommendation? And what's your prediction for the season? Who's going down to who's in the finals?
I think that the powerhouse this year is going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
And I think that the
Why? Because
second
they're
player,
feeling good now. The monkey's off their back.
Well, the Duke point guard that was a very young, emerging superstar last year and really helped them win that title now is only going to get better and grow into his role. And the people he plays against are only getting older and growing out of their roles. So I just think, as LeBron ages a little bit, there's help there to pick up, the slack. And now they've got a year of playing together. Everybody forgets, like last year was the first year those guys all played together. It took some adjustment, and yet they still won the championship against a really historically great team.
Yeah.
And LeBron's going to be the same, and everybody else is going to be significantly better. And they've got a year playing with each other. I think they're going to utterly dominate.
All right. Any thoughts on that, Mr. Lewis? Mr. Bishop?
I like it when you call me Mr.
Lewis. Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes. Now you go over there and get some flour and sugar from Mr. Lewis and tell him that we said thank you.
Okay, Mom.
Well, of course. I mean, you can't go against the grain of the Cavs or with what Gary says. He knows everything. But
right. Just ask him.
But
he's like that Maddox guy.
As the I don't know, like maybe Toronto will be good again this year,
Yeah.
And
Yes, you had an affinity for Toronto this last season. Something
I
about
thought
him.
you picked Memphis.
Yeah. No, yeah. So maybe it could be Toronto's year. You never know. But out of the West, I think that I'm going to go on a limb and say Golden State doesn't even make the playoffs.
I agree. What? San Diego. No, they're going to make the playoffs. But San Diego,
like the Final Four, you mean?
I'm going to say no playoff.
Nothing.
Wow.
Well, how many people do they take?
No soup for you.
They take 8 from the West.
Okay.
They'd have to finish 9th. That spectacular injury string could happen, but barring that, I don't see them not making the playoffs. But I think that San Antonio, you got to beat San Antonio. They just pummeled them by 30.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
I want to say that they don't get in the playoffs, but if they do, they won't get past the first round.
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
Fair enough. We'll mark it. We'll mark it in the
Yes.
book.
We fact check that in about 6 months.
Yeah, we will. All right. Can I have some change music and maybe a little football, something or other? All right. So, guys, last week's winner, it came down to the wire. Let's let this play out. Oh, you wouldn't. All right, it's the NFL time
That always
now.
makes me laugh.
Now, in our own Pick 5 league, Gary, this was so close. It was between you and Brian Bava, and the final. You each had 3 correct.
You know he's an ass clown.
No, I didn't. He's not.
The reason he's an ass clown is because if you reverse his 2 letters in his names, he's still the exact same name.
Okay, that is ridiculous.
It's
and
true.
This is the insideiest of inside jokes right now. But you both had 3, and
Gary has a point.
We had to pick.
Today's backwards day. Let's invite Brian Bava for laughs.
Oh, because it's not Harry Games,
Right.
It's
That's
no
what I'm
Harry
saying.
Games,
No.
or
Or
Buis
Per Blosman.
or Buis Lishop,
Right.
or the eternally wonderful Mills Waxwell.
Yes.
But you both guessed 3 correct, and as did Joe Cordoza, by the way. A little shout out to our friend over at Nuts and Bolts Sports.
Little Joe from Kokomo?
Yeah.
All right.
But it turns
He'll
out
pick 'em fast and then he'll pick 'em slow.
in
That's where he wants to go. Little Joe from Kokomo.
That's a
Okay.
That's a what's the dice game?
Craps?
It's a craps term.
Okay.
Little Joe from Kokomo. It's like a 4 and a 1 or something. I don't remember.
Okay.
Can we fact check that?
Sure. If it means we can move on with this.
Okay.
Okay, so we...
Hey, Blair, after the podcast, can Gary explain craps to me? I don't understand.
Okay, yes. After the game or at some other time, Gary can explain craps to you. Now, moving on. 3 chosen correctly, and the total points, our tiebreaker was 36. Gary, you guessed 38, but Brian Bava guessed 35, so he won. Yes, he did. And Joe Cardoza picked 67. He wasn't close.
Yes. Well,
But
I think he's seeing double.
so that
Could he
means,
be on the sauce again?
That means that Brian Bavas gets to have his victory song played right now, ish. And look, it's
in a moment.
It's in a moment.
You know, he knows my phone number if he needed help. This is not it.
No,
Oh.
No, that was the incorrect choice.
Yes.
Well, that's what Blair said.
No,
she said Clarence Carter.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is it.
Yeah, this is Brian Bava. Here is your extremely interesting victory song. Okay. Well, moving on.
Which one of us do you think he's shooting this at?
I don't want to know. I don't know.
It's probably Lewis.
Yeah. Okay. Can I get a little update on our fantasy league standings?
Sure.
See, this is why we need a social media maven. Nobody's ready with any information. Here we go. Here it's Fantasy Cast. I'm in a neck and neck thing with. I was. Now I'm not. I'm not neck and neck anymore with Lucky Mother Funches. Drew is losing right now to Team Bishop, Team Red Rocket.
Yeah.
Did see Bava is playing Wills, and it's projected to be quite close still. So I don't know. We'll see. And then, oh man, I'll tell you what, Timmy Booth and Alex Conti, both of them would have crushed anybody else this week. Right now, Alex is at 109 points, and Timmy's at 108 points. It's projected to be 119 and 115.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a. They both had overperforming. Few people, but quarterbacks in particular. So that's what's going on there. Gary, what's going on with your 58 fantasy leagues? Like, what's the big takeaway this week?
I'm not doing as well this year as I did last year.
Yeah, why
but not bad.
What's going on, buddy?
Not bad, but not as good as last year.
What's happening, buddy?
Although I will admit, I picked up towards the end of the season last year, so maybe I'll get there eventually.
Oh, what's going on? What's going on? What do you think the problem is?
A condescending wife.
No, I was just trying to. I thought it was my sympathy voice.
Okay.
That's how I talk to the cats.
Hey,
buddy.
What's going on? What's wrong?
Maybe that's why we have to keep taking him to the vet.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Oh, a whole thing happened today.
What
Never
happened?
mind. Oh, there was just an ugly spitting fight over.
There was another one.
No, that was this morning when we were still here.
Right.
Okay. Yeah,
Your cats spit at each other?
it
That's impressive.
sounded like
Hiss
it.
and growl and all kinds
There
of
was
stuff.
some dispute over who was to be in what cat tree.
Yeah.
Someone
only opened one window.
That was a mistake. That was a tactical mistake on my part. I understand that now. So, what do you think's going on though? Is this? See, I have heard a lot of commentators say that for some reason or another, this season of the NFL is not spectacularly interesting.
It's true.
Is that part of it? What is contributing?
There are
to
very
this?
few really good teams.
Really?
Yeah. And you had some pretty high-profile people either retire or have become insignificant in their old age.
Yeah.
So, the Super Bowl team lost their all-time great starting quarterback, and they replaced him with an unknown, and they're only playing marginally well. And then the other Super Bowl team was 1-5 going into today, I think. So
Right.
I think there's just turmoil. The Patriots are really the only team that looks, dominant.
And nobody likes them unless they're from New England.
Yeah,
which,
well,
they do like them.
And
And
there's-
bandwagon. fans.
It's not
Bandwagon,
It's
yeah.
too early to Cowboys are 5-1. If they're 10-2, you can start generating some enthusiasm. It's still too early.
Yeah, you think so? Because I've heard that people say the Thursday games is actually now too much, and the morning games of London.
Yes,
games
there's a
are-
lot of
there's
there's
too
a lot
much, and it's
but if we're gonna pawn the Jacksonville Jaguars off on Europe, we got to play over there some.
yeah, well. But so you don't think that it's a less interesting season, because that's just what I hear in passing when I'm listening to Mike and Mike or whatever.
There's been a lot of offense. The scoring's very high. But yeah, I just think superstar quarterbacks are what drive it, and several of them are aging and either have just retired or are near retirement. And the young upcoming ones, your Andrew Lucks of the world, who's supposed to be the next generation, not playing that well.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
How do they fix it? I don't know. I feel like it's just as interesting as it used to be. Maybe I like it whenever they were a bit more violent than what they are now. But
Right.
Right.
You know.
You're looking for more of a running man
More like
kind of scenario.
wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
I read a book. I forget what it was called. Killer Bowl, when I was in like third grade, and in that game, it was a very violent game played in burned out cityscapes.
Okay.
Like 500 yards of downtown Detroit, and the free safety had one bullet.
Oh, wow.
So at some point in the game, if you were to score a touchdown, it was really important. He could just shoot you.
Wow, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that something you could go for?
I would
Louis?
definitely go for
Okay.
that.
It got good ratings.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's,
And like
that
they got to
might-
go in the buildings, like a wide receiver would catch a pass and run in a building, and you had to like track him down.
Right. Okay.
Up on the
So
third
it's
floor.
a little bit more of American Ninja Warrior kind of thing happening there. Feels like.
Killer Bowl.
But Killer Bowl. And that sounds like something the Raiders might be into.
Speaking of the
historically.
Raiders, that's your team that's doing. Did you hear about your quarterback today, Lewis?
I did not.
513 yards and 4 touchdowns, and threw a 41-yard touchdown in overtime to win the game.
Wow.
What's
With
the
a minute
man's
left
name?
in overtime. David Carr.
David Carr.
I know that Janikowski
No,
missed the,
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr. Yeah.
David Carr was his
his
total
brother.
failure brother with a
No,
got sacked. Well, he might have been good, but he was beaten to a
He
pulp.
was beaten to death. I mean,
Yes.
he didn't have any offensive line basically anywhere he went.
He was sacked a still record NFL, I believe, 56 times. We can fact check that.
And then whenever he went to, I think he went to the Panthers for a little bit. And he was actually pretty good because they had a kind of okay offensive line,
Right.
But he just had been beaten to death. By that point, he got to a team where they kind of protected him.
I don't think he ever threw for 513 yards and 4 touchdowns.
But who knows? He might have.
Might have if he hadn't lost the motor ability.
But that just shows the toughness of the cars. Yes. So,
right,
that's a good thing. So.
Well, I will say that last week, this is just something I meant to mention before with our pick 5. We picked one of the games was Seattle versus Arizona.
Yeah.
It was a tie.
Huh?
It went to overtime and it didn't get solved, and it was a 6-6 tie.
Wow.
That sounds like the most boring game in America.
That was a brutal, unwatchable game. Yes, it was.
Ugh.
I attempted to watch part of that.
Well,
it was just
a
no offense at all.
6-6 tie with overtime.
And it wasn't like it was nothing or 3-0, like very late.
It was terrible. All right, guys. Are we done with NFL? Well, we'll be talking a little NFL though with Brian Miller here in a second.
I have a question. I mean, this is maybe a fact check for next week or whatever, being that we don't have a social media maven.
God damn it!
I know, right?
Yeah.
Wills is out drunk, and
then Drew is he's probably with Drew.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
that explains
yeah.
it. Jesus, that's exactly what it is.
You introduced them at the last show.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
Poor Wills.
But
Drew deserves everything he gets,
right.
but Wills is a little.
Yeah, he's a saint.
Yeah, he's a saint.
Right, he's been.
He's very impressionable.
Right.
All right. Sorry about that.
Anyways,
Go ahead.
But it seems that all the ties in the NFL, it seems like the Seahawks have been in more ties than anyone else. I don't know. Like this is a fact check for next week. Whenever you fact check.
we'll do that.
Well, they have a really good defense, which is one element of a tie. Is you got to hold the other team down, and then they've got their offense, though successful in past years and having much of the same people back, is not doing very well this year.
Okay, guys. Well, I think can I have a little change music just for? I think that would be fun. It'll be a nice little
thing for you.
A nice little thing for me here. All right, guys, it's now time for this week's comedian guest, Brian Miller. And just FYI, a great way to find all your favorite comedians on the specific episodes that they've appeared on, whether it's My Fantasy Wife or any podcast they've ever appeared on. You can download the app Laughable, Laughable. It's really awesome. I've used it. You can type in your favorite comics. It shows you what episode of every podcast they've shown up on, and you can download just that episode if you want. And if you want more information, you can go to laughable.com. So let's give Brian a
They
call
pay you
here.
for that?
We're part of we're in their thing now.
Okay.
I'm very excited about it. Can you hold this thing?
Yep.
Yes. Hey, Brian. This is Blair Postman, and you're on with My Fantasy Wife podcast. How are you?
Very well. How's it going?
It's going great. So glad we could get you. Hey, just real quick, I'll let you know who else is on the line here with you. My husband and sports stat expert Gary Hames.
Hey, man, how's it going?
How's it going?
And our sound engineer, comedian, and sort of man about town, Mr. Louis Bishop.
Hi, Brian.
How do you get the designation of man about town?
It's something that's evolved over the years. He's just sort of known about town here in Wilmington, North Carolina. He's just somebody that, everyone knows.
I try to get in cars at times with people when they stop at lights.
just it's not always appropriate, but he
Right.
is always about town.
Yeah, everyone knows.
No, I want to get some tips. I want to be from about town in Minneapolis.
All right, so what you do is say, like, you'll walk around and you'll be like, hey, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm a starving artist. Do you have any money? I'm trying to get to St. Paul. And then you just do that a whole bunch, and the people will see you, like, multiple times, and they'll be like, I'm not giving that guy any more money.
A lot of photo bombing. Photo bombing helps if you can do that. If you wander into parties that you're not invited to, that's another way to go.
I'm writing all of this down.
Okay, great.
You go to hotel rooms, and if someone's having a party at a hotel, sometimes they'll leave the door open, and you just strip down completely down to your underwear and just walk in.
And eventually, people start taking notice.
Yeah. They're like, hey, it's that guy.
I dig it. So it's a process.
Right.
Yes.
It doesn't happen overnight, Brian.
Right,
it's like comedy. Don't get greedy.
Yeah. I like to take a stranger's dog for a walk when they're not looking.
Yeah,
sure, right. Just another good tip.
Yeah.
Right, but it's no one thing.
No.
It's no one thing. So, Brian, if I could, for our listeners, I'd like to do a little introduction of you. Tell them about you a little bit. Listeners, sure. Brian Miller renounced all seriousness and quit his job as a newspaper editor to move to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and try stand-up comedy in 2008. He's appeared on CBS's The Late Late Show, and every week he writes football jokes for Kostaki. Econopolis. You say it, Brian.
It's fun to listen to people try to say it.
You do it. You say it.
Economopolis.
Thank you for Quick Snaps podcast and radio segment, and it's also featured on the Bob and Tom Show. You're also a recurring opener for Minnesota Public Radio's comedy variety show Wits, and it can be heard on Sirius XM Radio. You're also the co-host and producer of your own podcast, The Rule of Three. Everyone, big round of applause for Brian Miller.
Yay.
Woo! Now,
my bio sounds long when you read it all.
Yeah, I know. I think that's all of our guests' favorite part. You really try to do a nice long bio. It sounds very impressive. Very impressive to us. And just a little note, if you have ever have any trouble hearing us, just let us know, and we'll try to fix that for you. But
sure.
So, Brian, I mean, certainly we'll have time at the end if you need to talk a little bit more about the Man About Town stuff. But I understand, we ask all of our guests to tell us what kind of sports things they're obsessed with or into. And the first thing from you is the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I'm a big Vikings guy.
So what makes, explain to me big. What does a big Vikings guy mean? Like, what makes you such a big fan?
Oh, my daily mood hinges on the face of the team in a way that's probably not always healthy.
Sure, yeah, so way overly invested in them. Okay.
Yes, I mean, I actually got into football through comedy, which was I always liked football, but I was from a small town. We didn't have a team in Southern Illinois.
Okay.
There was no team within 3-4 hours.
Okay.
And so I just watched high school football in college. And then when I moved up to Minneapolis, I was doing stand-up with Kostaki. We were driving around, and he was working on a sports segment. And so we just started kicking some jokes around. And then he said, oh, you should write jokes for me. And so I started having to watch the games every week and really get into it to write the jokes. And then at some point, it became clear that it wouldn't really matter if I wrote the jokes anymore, that I would
It had taken over. It had taken over.
Yeah, I mean, I watch 4 or 5 games a week. So I'm pretty invested, but I never, ever miss the Vikings. I missed the Vikings season opener this year for my grandma's 90th birthday party, and I don't hold it against her. Let's put it that way. I don't hold it against her.
Are you sure? Because the way you say that makes me think that maybe you do.
Well, my mother planned the party not during the Vikings game, so I couldn't blame my mother.
Okay. Yeah, no, blame your mother. I mean, I think that's appropriate,
yes.
Right? If she planned it.
It's her fault you're a fair weather friend.
Yeah, it's her fault.
Yeah.
And so, it's so interesting that you came to know about football through comedy, because that's sort of what I thought was going to happen with me through this podcast, because I don't know anything really about it, and my husband knows everything, essentially. And it's been about 2 years now, and I still haven't quite caught up. I'm not watching 6 games a week. What's your favorite legend or thing about the Vikings? Do you go to the games when you watch it on TV? Is there any sort of, something, no matter what season it is, that you look forward to?
Oh, I mean, you don't look forward to it, but I mean, the Vikings are defined by tragedy.
Right.
They're defined by getting your hopes up, and they're not like the Browns. Like the Browns just suck.
Okay.
And so it's different. When you're with the Browns, you just know they're going to suck, and they suck, and that's it. And it's terrible, I'm sure.
Right.
With the Vikings, is they get these really good teams. They get you really excited, and then they blow it. The Gary Anderson missed field goal, the Blair Walsh missed field goal. I actually blocked the Blair Walsh missed field goal out of my mind for like 2 months.
Okay.
Like I completely forgot that it happened. It must have been some sort of real act of conscious sort of psychology or unconscious psychology.
Right.
And then someone brought it up. Someone mentioned it. It was in like August. They're like, "Oh man, and that Blair Walsh thing, man. I hope that doesn't happen again." And it like hit me like in the movies when they have a flashback and they're staggering around. I was like, "Oh God, I remember. This is so horrible."
It's like a PTSD moment. Like you're suddenly back in it.
Yeah, it was like I could smell the beer I spilled on the floor when I collapsed to the ground. And I just laid next to spilled beer for like 5 minutes while my wife walked around me in disgust.
Right.
Right. But so yeah, I don't look forward to it, but that is what kind of defines being a Vikings fan. But I mean, the thing that gets you is they do have those thrilling moments before they let you down.
Right.
Pulls you back in.
Don't we all have relationships like that?
Yes, honey. So are you not old enough for the 4 Bud Grant losses? That's probably before your time, huh?
It wasn't really. Some of them weren't necessarily before my time. Well, I guess a couple of them. But
Yeah.
I was living in Minnesota, so I kind of became a fan about 8 years ago when
Yeah,
I moved up
yeah.
here from Kentucky.
Right.
But I have subsequently, I do a sports show on Wednesdays with Bob Sansevier, a fantastic sports writer from the Pioneer Press, who's been here for years. And so we get to have a lot of the great Vikings on. So we've had like Carl Eller.
Yeah.
We have like 3 members of the Purple People Eaters on there.
Right.
So getting to meet those guys is very cool.
Brian, do you feel I'm not a Vikings fan, but I feel that Brett Favre and you guys had a case to bring up against the Saints defense in 2009 for the assault charges that the late hits and stuff that they did on Brett Favre in the NFC Championship game. Do you feel that you guys should sue the Saints? I feel like you should sue the Saints for that.
Oh, I think we lost him.
He didn't want to talk about Brett Favre.
He didn't
No.
want to talk. We're going to call him
No.
back.
No, he was like,
Oh,
Get him on tape with the assault charge. You got to testify.
right, true.
Hey, Brian. We're
Oh,
oh,
well, he's
Hey, is that phone cut off there?
that was weird.
Yeah, that was so. So we have a case for assault charges against Brett Favre.
No, not against Brett Favre. See, look, you want to get and the 2009 Saints game, the NFC Championship game, like the late hits on. I was heartbroken for you guys. I thought that was the year that you guys were going to go to the Super Bowl, but the Saints defense just assaulted Brett Favre in a fashion that I'm still upset about.
I remember the play calls being. I mean, you can't blame the play calls because or the referees entirely because ultimately, AP doesn't fumble earlier in the game, and then Favre doesn't throw the interception. They win, but man, there were some bad calls in that game. That was just an infuriating game overall.
Wow.
I think God took a hand in that game because he loves the Saints.
Yeah,
think?
Gary's a little bit of a Saints fan.
Well, and that was the year of destiny for
The year of destiny, like the post Katrina
Yeah,
and everything.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, and I like the Saints. I mean, it wasn't like a team that I was like particularly upset about them succeeding. I just wish they succeeded against somebody else.
Right.
Do you have a?
But don't you think the Vikings totally karmically earned that one though? I mean, they really never should have allowed themselves to do the spike thing and go with Favre. I mean, the whole thing.
Right.
It's kind of a bad.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. Bad karma.
It's kind of bad juju, right? And so, is there? I mean, do you despise the Green Bay Packers? Or I mean, is that how deep you're in it now?
I'm rooting against them actively right now. They're playing against the Falcons as we speak.
Okay.
I love Aaron Rodgers too much. Really, I don't hate them. I respect them. I find
Right.
they are worthy opponents.
I see.
I root very strongly against them, but I don't hate them.
Okay.
I hate the Bears. I think
Oh.
the Bears are a disgusting team.
Do you think
I
they're? Are you
despise
glad?
Bears. I mean,
like, does it transfer to baseball? Like, are you glad that the Cubs are losing just because they're in the same city as the Bears?
Well, I used to live in Chicago, and I didn't really like it. And so I generally root against all Chicago sports teams
Really?
pretty strongly.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you dislike most about Chicago?
Was it the good food?
Chicago, living in Minneapolis is so vastly superior to Chicago, it's hard to even describe.
Really? Because they're both very cold. And now Gary and I lived in Chicago for just a year. And the cold was a large part of what eventually drove us out. But in those couple of weeks where it was really nice, we enjoyed it a lot, gained a lot of weight. What do you think is superior about Minneapolis?
All the same fun stuff goes on in Minneapolis. The difference is you can drive there in 15 minutes and park for $10.
Okay.
We still have this great theater, the great comedy. We have sports teams, but you can just do everything. The city of Chicago, because it is in the crooked, corrupt state of Illinois, is forever on the lookout for ways to chisel money out of your pocket. Like I had cops who would write me tickets at 11:50 at night, and then they would come back and write me tickets for the same offense, then quote unquote the next day at 10 after 12, and then the courts would be like, "Hey, sorry, nothing you can do about it."
Is there any? And I don't know how long you were in Chicago and what kind of relationships you made, but do you think if it was maybe?
I met my wife.
Okay, you did meet your wife, and you escaped with her out of Chicago. So I was just going to say, so it wasn't a personal thing against you. This is just how you feel Chicago operates generally.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fine people there, and I enjoyed going to school there. But, just in general, as a municipality, I think Chicago mostly deserves spite. I say the Bears are terrible. Oh, God, I hate the Bears.
Like, what's the thing you hate the most about the Bears? Just let it all.
You know what it is? The Bears are a lot like most of their fans, which is they did something kind of cool a long time ago, and they've been riding off that forever.
All right. Wow.
They're old and staggered and bloated, but they're like, remember 86? Oh, remember 85? Oh, yeah, whatever.
Super Bowl shuffle.
A long time ago.
Wow. All right. Well, I mean, I don't want to make this awkward, but Gary and I are both very old and bloated. So, I mean, I kind of feel like I'm Chicago now, and he's like young, skinny Minneapolis giving me shit.
Well, I mean, Minneapolis does have a much bigger mall, so it can hold significantly more trailer trash than the malls in Chicago.
Wow. Okay, you know what?
Oh, no, that mall is like a roach trap for a white trash. That's what that is.
Yeah.
It lures them all in.
White trash goes in, but they don't come out.
They are at all times.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
This has taken a turn. All right. Well, Brian, I want to get to our game because we planned it special. Gary, can you hold this phone for me? And just so we don't mess it up here. So I put together a little bit of some interesting Minnesota sports trivia for you, and we're going to ask you questions, and you see if you can answer the trivia questions for us. How's that sound?
All right.
That's pretty much how trivia works.
I will give it a whirl.
All right.
Is that how trivia works?
That's how trivia works, typically in my researching of trivia. So, Gary, do you want to ask him? Do you want to ask him number one?
Sure. Hang on 1 second, and I will do that. On July 31st, 2007, the Timberwolves traded this player to the Boston Celtics. So easy, really? To the Boston Celtics for Al Jefferson, Ryan Gomes, Sebastian Telfair, Gerald Green, Theo Ratliff, Boston's 2009 first-round draft pick, Minnesota's 2009 first-round draft pick, and cash considerations.
Who was it?
Kevin Garnett?
Yes, it was. Ding, 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 ding. All right.
Good for me. I don't even watch basketball.
Yeah, well, we like to set our folks up for success here.
Since when?
Since just 30 seconds ago.
Okay. All right.
Occasionally, we accidentally set our guests up for success.
By accident, yes. Right.
So, Lewis, do you have a copy? Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
You want to try number two?
Yeah, before the Minnesota Stars, what was the Minnesota hockey team name? Where did they move, and what are they named now?
Well, they were the Minnesota North Stars, and they moved to Dallas and became the Dallas Stars, the worst team in all of the world.
Wow.
I hope nothing but the worst happens to.
Wow.
Brett Hull kicked that goal in. Brett Hull kicked that goal in for them to win the Stanley Cup against Dominik Hasek and the Buffalo Sabres. And the only reason they couldn't call it back is they dropped the confetti, and they deserve to lose every sport for the rest of eternity because.
Okay, so first of all, I think
actually all of that was the correct answer.
It was all written there. Because if you had just said Dallas Stars, I was like, no, you're wrong. Not giving it to you. But now that you got the whole answer. And I think we accidentally stumbled upon Brian's true sport here.
Yeah, that didn't really have anything to do with the Vikings.
No, I feel like, is hockey more your jam there?
I watched a fair amount of hockey. I used to watch a ton of hockey as a kid.
Yeah.
It used to be easier to watch hockey when it was popular before they went on strike and screwed themselves.
Yeah.
Or rather a lockout. It wasn't a strike.
All right. Whew. Okay.
I'm full of hot takes.
I didn't even get a chance to ding. Ding, ding, ding. You got number two correct. Okay, number 3, I'm going to read for you. This aviatrix played basketball at St. Paul Central High School after moving to Minnesota from Kansas.
Aviatrix. Ooh, I'm gonna throw a Hail Mary here and say Amelia Earhart.
Ding,
Yes.
ding, ding.
Well, name another.
I know, I couldn't think of a second famous one, which
Well-
sounds terrible. But I guess maybe no one else got so badly lost. I don't know.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that was nice that she had some nice memories of that before she was abandoned on that desert island or whatever happened. All right.
We got Lindbergh from here too. We got all kinds of aviators. Up here.
Really? That's interesting and strange and something we'll have to look up about. Okay. Go ahead, Gary. Why don't you get another one?
I don't understand this question.
All right. Well, why don't you read the next question then?
Okay.
Number 5.
This
since
former-
that's your favorite.
I just think there's grammatically something wrong with that because I
Okay.
don't understand it. This former NFL coach has a famous garage sale every year.
Oh, it's Bud Grant. I
Yeah.
almost went this year.
Yeah. Ding.
Oh, really? He almost
Oh!
went this year.
I was out of town. I was really bummed. I wanted to go buy a hat or something from Bud.
Have you heard the Dan Le Batard show when they call him and ask him about it? It's the funniest thing that's
No.
ever been on radio, yeah. And he's so curmudgeon-y, and they're like, what are you charging for your fishing lures? And he's like, are you going to buy something? It's just really funny.
That sounds. We tried to look up if we could find what any of the prices had been for the last one this past May, but we couldn't find any actual prices.
Yeah, the original game was supposed to be guess the price of things from Bud Grant's yard sale without going over.
Yes.
But we couldn't find
that
enough.
that honestly was our original idea, and we've
And
settled.
by our, she means mine.
Yes, and like in a lot of things that happen on this podcast, we wound up settling for something much less interesting.
Right.
Okay. So, do you wanna ask number 6, Lewis?
Sure. One MLB franchise moved to Minneapolis in the 60s to become the Twins, and then weirdly become
That's for later.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Sorry. Yeah.
so what MLB franchise moved to Minneapolis in 1960 to become the Twins?
You know, I have no idea. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, Washington Senators. Meh.
I did not know the Twins were the Senators.
Well-
that is bad. There you go. Learn something every day.
Well, here's the little weird thing I found out. Then weirdly, there was supposed to be an expansion team that moved to Minneapolis, but the Senators owner said, hey, can we just move the Senators there instead? So then they gave the expansion team to D.C., and still called it the Senators, but then that Senators team then moved to
Texas.
become the Texas Rangers in 1972.
The original owner of the Washington Senators was a huge racist. They were the last integrated team, and he moved to Minnesota. Many think the reason they pushed for that was because he thought they would be whiter.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, you know what I do? I think I read that in a little trivia thing in a newspaper up here. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Like a history of baseball.
I'm trying to think
There
of the
you go.
guy's name, and I can't remember.
Yeah. All right. Okay, this is an important Vikings-related one for you here, Brian. This important non-player for the Vikings was released due to contract dispute in 2015.
Oh, Ragnar, that asshole.
Yeah, wow. Okay. For our listeners who aren't as clued in, that's the mascot Viking Ragnar Lodbrok,
Right.
who was played by Joseph Jarntik. Lot of Nordic
Really?
names. I'm not Juranitch. And in 2015, the Vikings announced they couldn't reach a agreement with him because he wanted $20,000 a game. But he'd been doing it for about 20 years, I believe.
Yeah, he underestimated our ability to find other fat old white guys with weird beards
Right.
in Minnesota.
That happens a lot, I
Right.
bet.
Yeah, they're real plentiful up here.
I would have done it for $10,000 a game.
Oh, you see, Gary? Too bad we didn't know that was going on. We could have shipped you up there.
Yeah.
Do you know how much he was being paid? Was he like what was he getting paid to do the show up? Do you know? I mean, if he wanted 20,
he was doing all right.
yeah.
Wow. Lewis,
I bet he's sorry.
Lewis is packing
That's a sweet gig.
Yeah, Lewis is packing his bags right now. by the
Shaving
way.
my head as we speak.
Right. Putting on some blonde braids.
He was
Right.
getting all kind of Viking women.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, maybe. So, okay, number 8 there, Gary.
He hit a home run. These cocksucker hit a home run to win Game 6 of the 91 World Series.
Okay.
I hope he chokes
I
on
did
it.
not have the phrase cocksucker in the question, Brian. just
Yeah.
so you know. But if you otherwise would...
This is why he went blind. It's because he hit that home run.
Okay.
I was going to say Kirby Puckett.
Yes. Did he go blind, Gary?
Yeah.
Well, why would you say such a thing
Ah,
about
because
that?
we had that one. We had it won.
Who's we? Oh, the Braves?
Yeah.
Oh, the Braves. You know how you were talking about the Vikings earlier, Brian? That's how Gary has a relationship with the Braves about,
That was the greatest World Series. Well, I do vaguely remember the 76 World Series where Yastrzemski hit that home run, but that was the greatest, certainly of my adult years, the greatest World Series I've ever seen.
All right.
I mean, it was fantastic. And I watched the last 2 games in a casino in Atlantic City.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah, so it was kind of fun.
All right.
Till we fucking lost.
Okay. All right. There is a lot of stuff bubbling to the top here. Oh, I'm going to ask this next one. What performance group headlined Super Bowl 11 in 1977, which was the last Super Bowl in which the Vikings appeared? So who were the headliners for the halftime show there?
I couldn't be guessing more, but I'm wishfully thinking Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I'm sorry, who?
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Very famous group, though. You've never heard of them.
No, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Wouldn't have anything to do with that second-rate venue, but look who they did get.
No, they got the New Mouseketeers of the Disney Channel's New Mouseketeer Club, and also the Los Angeles All-City Kids Band.
I knew it was a wild guess because only recently halftime shows started getting real bands.
Thank you, Brian.
They used to have those weird,
Brian.
like, we'll do a giant Busby Berkeley.
Brian, no!
style
Carol
show.
Channing, Up with People.
Jazz legend Al Hurt.
Jazz Legend Al Hurt, Grambling State University Marching Band. I have done a lot of
Miss
research
Texas.
about this, Brian, and I talk about it a lot. And I don't usually
Yeah,
get
the
to...
halftime shows used to be so bizarre.
Oh, my God, I'm sending you a link.
And it wasn't that long ago
It
either.
wasn't that long ago. It only turned around like in the 90s. I'm gonna.
Yeah, it's pretty recent.
Yes, I'm sending you a link to a thing, and I pretend it's like a comedy bit, but really it's like a mission that I have.
She's so excited. No one else has ever known that.
Oh my God! Oh, Brian. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm gonna regroup.
And you can get on the ground floor for $50.
Right.
Right.
Right. Okay. Three more questions. Can you ask number 10 there, Mr. Bishop?
One NFL quarterback was born in Richmond, Virginia, went on to host That's Incredible, and found a software company, even though he never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that should be found in a software company.
He was just laying in the road.
Founded a software company.
Yeah.
This NFL quarterback, yep, he went on to host That's Incredible and founded a software company.
I have no idea.
Fran Tarkenton.
I did not know Fran Tarkenton. All right, there you go.
The subject is Minnesota sports trivia.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
Well, they've had more than one quarterback play.
Yeah.
Why don't you ease off the guy a little bit?
That's incredible. Do you guys remember that he hosted That's Incredible?
No, I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what That's Incredible is.
Because you're too young and you have too much dignity. But it was a very weird clip show from the 70s.
You know what else is pretty incredible?
What?
How well Blair was getting along with him, and now she turned on him.
I
that
totally.
quickly. Yeah, that was incredible.
I am unpredictable and not well liked.
It's too bad that show isn't still around, or this could have been on it.
Yes, that's
I
right.
was thinking that was a newer game. I never heard of the show, so I thought it must be some new reality show I'd never heard of.
Right. Well, it's an old. It was before there were reality shows, but I think it would have qualified.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to read this one, Gary, and then you read number 11.
Okay.
So number 12. This team's 1991 championship win of their sports league was immortalized in the hit show Beverly Hills 90210.
Oof. 91 champion twins?
Yes, the Minnesota Twins. And that's because Brenda and Brandon, the characters on the show, were from Minneapolis, and they were also twins, and they did a whole thing about it.
Fascinating.
I didn't know Brendan and Brandon were. That was Jason Priestley and Sharon Doherty.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. All right, we've loved having you. We've got one more question, and it's this one here.
Okay, number 11.
Yes.
Which of the Vikings shanked field goals was the most satisfying for comedian Tim Harmston?
Yeah, we had a contributing writer on this one. So which of the Vikings
think it would have to be Blair Walsh's?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Tim Harmston, a friend of the show, went ahead and contributed one for us. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he was still mad about us winning the division that year.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he was that mad about that.
No, I think he said it with like an angry smile.
It was a more personal hatred.
Yeah, it was like an angry smile.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Brian. Well, thanks so much for being on, and we will talk to you sometime soon, I hope.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It was a lot of fun.
All right, thanks, man.
Have a good.
Bye-bye. Oh, that was fun and a lot of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week, listeners. Thanks to our contributors, Joe Perot and Wills Maxwell. To download all our episodes that we put out every week, subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Find us on Facebook and Instagram at My Fantasy Wife Podcast, Twitter at My Fant Wife. Thank you, Mr. Bishop, for taking us out with the jazz trumpet stylings of Mr. Al Hurt.